Welcome to Career Chats, the podcast series brought to you by Michael Page. In this video, we're bringing you highlights of our interview with HR guru Bianca Miller-Cole, where she offers her top tips on personal branding, championing diversity, and how to be an intrapreneur. Here she is in conversation with our presenter, Phil Ray Smith.
Today, I'm joined by Bianca Miller-Cole. Welcome, Bianca.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to be talking about being a champion of diversity at all levels. So you once said that your top tip for business leaders is don't be afraid to be different. First of all, have I got that right? And second of all, what did you mean by that?
Don't be afraid to be different. I think what I'm talking about there is really about personal branding. So that's the first business that I've built. And it really is about marketing yourself and understanding the importance of positive differentiation. So when I say don't be afraid to be different, it's about understanding your point of difference as a unique selling point. How can you show others what your value is? How can you illustrate how you would contribute to any problem that they have by being the solution? And that's kind of what we're getting at there.
Okay, I get it. And so this is a particularly pertinent thing to be discussing in a Career Chats podcast.
Absolutely.
Because, personal brand, whether you're a manager or a job seeker, knowing your brand is important. How do you get people to find their own brand and then to build their own brand?
It's a very, it's an interesting point actually, because I think most people aren't aware that they have a brand. So the first kind of hurdle that I face is by really introducing them to the idea of personal branding, making them aware that whether or not they have considered it before, they have a personal brand. So then it's taking them on a journey of exploring what that personal brand is and the facets that make up personal branding.
And I guess all of those things are really important, but actually how often do you find people have that level of self-awareness that is necessary to understand how they present or how they communicate or even what knowledge they have to offer?
So some people are really tuned in and others not so much. And I think then it's taken them on a journey of self-reflection. And that can be difficult because some people are quite happy to reflect and see where maybe they could be doing better. Some people are quite honest in their personal reflection. They can say, oh, actually, I'm not great online. I've not really showcased who I am or what I do or what my value is. And then there are others who just think they're amazing.
I know a
and
few
then
people like that.
Do you? I think we all do, to be fair. And they're the ones who, just seem to get all the promotions and opportunities, don't necessarily seem to be working very hard, but are great at branding themselves. And it's about getting that balance right. And I'm really about addressing the balance and saying, for those who feel they have imposter syndrome or those who feel they can't go for that promotion or can't go for that job, actually reassessing where they are, what they're doing, what their value is and where they can learn, because we're all on that journey.
Tell us how you got where you are today. You kind of started off in HR and built from there,
yes.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very long story and I won't give you the whole download. But essentially, I went to university, did a business management economics degree, finished in a recession, thought, what do I do now? So I had to make a decision then, and I was approached by Accenture to do a temp job as a HR advisor for their graduate community. Got the job, was on a temp contract, quickly got made permanent, and suddenly I was in charge of a third of a 1,500 strong graduate community.
Okay.
Really looking at their personal brand. Well, no, looking at their promotion cycle, all the HR elements that were necessary. But what we found was we had graduates who were academically very intelligent, but just weren't very good at personal branding.
Right.
So sometimes they were dressing inappropriately. They didn't communicate well. They were representing, Accenture on client site. So that was very important. So that's when I kind of got into personal branding. I was delivering sessions for Accenture as part of, or in addition to my remit as HR advisor. I was doing the inductions. I then scored the highest for the inductions that they had ever had. And then I realized I love talking, I love presenting, but I also love helping people understand, how to position themselves for success.
Okay. Now, slightly confusing in your personal brand is that you're not just known for career development and helping people with their careers.
Yes.
But also, I guess you are known somewhat for nude hosiery.
Yes.
Can you tell us why? For anyone who doesn't know already.
So yeah, I mean, it's so I had the first business, the B Group. Throughout my corporate journey, I had tried to buy nude tights to suit my skin tone because I was in a corporate world. There's an expectation from a dress code perspective that you would dress in a way that was professional, and tights was kind of part of that. But I couldn't get any to match my skin tone. I'm not the darkest person, but yet there was this idea that I was still too dark for a nude pair of tights. So I looked at my friends, families, colleagues, and so on, all of different ethnicity and skin tone, from the palest to the darkest, and most of them had the wrong shade of tights on. So that was kind of what led me to pitching this idea to redefine nude. Nude, by the dictionary definition, being a pinkish beige colour.
Oh, interesting.
And still is that definition,
Really?
actually, yes,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. So I went on The Apprentice to pitch this idea. As I said, I wasn't that interested in being on the show, but my husband kind of coerced me into applying. I pitched it. Unfortunately, I didn't win. And then I came out of The Apprentice, and I already, still had my first business running. My husband took care of it in my absence. 8 million people watched the show. So that, of course, there were people who didn't really get it, didn't think it was necessary. But then there were also lots of people who said, I can't believe this. Is there really no tights for other people? Because if you are catered to by the two or three colours on the market, you wouldn't consider that there's not a colour for anyone else. So I think it came as a surprise to a lot of people. And actually, after the show, I decided to make it a reality. So we launched Bianca Miller London in November 2015, so just short of a year after the show ended. And we managed to get into Selfridges, Topshop, QVC, a few department stores and so on. But really just pushing the kind of nude agenda, but also pushing diversity as an agenda.
It's a great message and a great lesson for would-be entrepreneurs right there. So many people do use The Apprentice as a kind of a springboard. They want to kind of get a bit of profile and perhaps a bit of a showbiz career out of it. Was that ever your aim, or do you enjoy the limelight?
So I went on The Apprentice to win.
Okay.
I didn't go onto it as a springboard for fame or fortune or anything like, or fortune maybe, but not for fame, certainly.
But you decided to return then to your original career.
Absolutely. So I now run both businesses.
What would you perhaps give advice more tailored for someone who's more established in their career? How do they progress at that stage? So
I think when we look at the economy currently, I think what is going to be so important is intrapreneurship. So when we say entrepreneurship is obviously being a business owner, starting a business, having an idea. Intrapreneurship is having that entrepreneurial spirit, but within an organization. I think that is going to be the key to success. We're looking at lots of, robotics and AI coming into the play with a lot of different types of skills. But the reality is, if you are entrepreneurial, i.e. if you're taking control of your department or your project and you're treating it like it's your own baby and you're ensuring that it's marketed well, that it looks great, that you're finding the right key stakeholders, you're managing them appropriately. If you start to build your department as if it were your own business, I think that's where there's great value.
That's a really interesting idea because, an entrepreneur will stay awake at night because they have their own fortune and also possibly the livelihoods of a group of people depending on them. Do you think that's basically the vibe that you should apply even if you're a part of a large organisation?
So I'm not encouraging poor work-life balance, although I probably have a bit of that in my life. What I'm saying is the mindset of an entrepreneur. So that mindset of you see there's a problem and you become the fixer.
Right.
You see a problem in an organisation or in your department and you think, how can I solve that problem? Who do I need to help me solve that problem? How can I market it so that this works for that part of the organisation? Who else do I need to speak to get on board with me to ensure that we're providing the best possible solution for our clients? And I think having that skill set where you're thinking outside of the box a little bit, and you're utilizing the resources that you have, in an organization, you have so much more access to resources than an entrepreneur usually ever has from a financial perspective, but also from a people perspective. So get the right stakeholders on board to work with you to make a success of what you're doing in that company and just really see it as your own project. No matter where you are in your organization, you might be at the start of your journey, but if your boss says to you, we've got this problem, take that problem. Take it on and think, how can I solve it? Okay, that's that option. Brainstorm, find the right people, look at who you need to make it happen, and then propose it to your boss. It doesn't matter where you are. Just always look at it as ownership of that position.
I think that right there is the key to it all. I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's amazing. Easier said than done sometimes, of course.
Yes, yeah.
But I love the thinking behind it.
But you steer your career, right? I think sometimes people sit back and they think, I need to wait for my boss to promote me. I need to wait for an opportunity. And there is an element of that. Obviously, if there's no position to be promoted into, then you do need to wait for an opportunity. But you can create opportunities. You can put your hand up. You can put yourself forward. You can make sure people are aware of the work that you're doing. You can make sure that you're that problem solver. You're that go-to person. People think, oh, I know, I've got a problem. Let me go to Phil. He's going to be able to help me. That's what you want.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's clear, I guess, that you like to ensure that personal development is something that should be available to all. Am I right? How do you think that companies then can kind of ensure that it is at the heart of their diversity and inclusion policies, particularly when it comes to inclusion, making sure no one is left behind?
Sure. I think what's really important about inclusion is just illustrating that everyone has the opportunity to participate and everyone is valued. And I think that's where companies can really start to really push the agenda by making sure everyone feels that their opinion is valued and that they can come up with new ideas and concepts, and that innovation is an acceptable kind of skill set in the organization. I think that is so important. And I think more and more we're seeing organizations accepting intrapreneurship as part of the kind of daily grind. So wanting people to have new ideas, to bring new ideas into the fold, but also to bring in the expertise and knowledge and skill set of people from different demographics. I think if we're going to move forward from an organizational perspective, we need to have different ideas, different backgrounds, different people to build that organization and make it a force for nature, a force to be reckoned with.
Interesting discussion about what employers can do, but clearly your expertise is helping people develop themselves.
Yes.
So I just thought it'd be really interesting to have a brief conversation about, some tips and tricks. People at the start of their career, what they can do to kind of get on the right track, to make sure that they're going to set themselves up at the beginning of their career so that they will progress well. Maybe based on your own experiences, I'm sure you've got plenty relevant ones.
I think at the beginning of your career, I think it's so important to, and I think this might be generational in some parts, but it's important to realize you don't know it all. I think generationally we're finding that, and this is my clients, are finding that people are coming in thinking that they're going to be the solution to all this organization's problems, from a very young age. And realistically, okay, we love that enthusiasm, that energy, but it's so important to go into an organization open-minded, to say, this is what I know, but I'm open to learning.
Right.
I want to learn. I want to experience life with this organization. I want to understand where my value is best suited. And I think most organizations will take someone and will teach them all they need to know to succeed if they're open to learning.
Right.
And I think that's so important. That, in addition to, from a personal branding perspective, dressing appropriately for the organization. When I say appropriately for the organization, I'm not suggesting that everyone needs to be suited and booted, because you have to understand the culture of the organization and dress accordingly. So it's so important to understand the nuances that come with different organizations. It's, making sure that you've had a great social media clear out. So, we've got some young people who might have said some silly things on social media or might not be behaving in a way that they would want an organization to see them. So I think it's important to be aware that actually social media is open. If it's not a private account, it's open for people to look at. And if it's not something you'd be happy to say to a potential employer, maybe it's not something you should be posting online. I think that's the important conversation to have. But yeah, just going to an interview prepared is another one.
Preparation.
Do the research, understand the organization, have questions prepared to ask the interviewer. I think that's so important.
To hear more from our guests, including their extraordinary careers and expert advice on topics such as workplace inclusion, mental well-being and work-life balance, make sure you subscribe to the Career Chats podcast, available on Audioboom, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, to get the episodes as soon as they drop.